All right, hey folks, we are getting back into the martial power system during our lunchtime development stream. So we finished the Eberron Spelljammer Orbital Mining campaign. We finished up the Eldrazi Monstrous Compendium for D&D MTG crossover. We finished analyzing all the creatures there. So now we are going to get back into the Ravnica Rubblebelt Hex Crawl campaign that we're developing to playtest the martial power system that we've been streaming over the past year. So give me a second here to check my signal, make sure I'm coming through okay, and we will. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, let's make sure we're coming through okay. I'll go through my intro spiel, boost my signal across the internet, and then we'll get back to work here. So mic check coming through, mic check, and then we'll get back here. So mic check coming through. Yeah, sounds good to me. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and grab up this link here, and I'm going to start posting to the social medias that were active, and then we'll get to work here for maybe like an hour and see where that gets us. So we stream on this lunch dev. We stream on Mondays, Tuesdays, and I need some flair here for homebrew. There you go. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. And I create art in the mornings, Mondays through Friday. I have a workbench that I run on. Hold on real quick here. Looking for all the things. Click, 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 click. That's good. And then let's get up here to. I'm going to get started here in a second, I promise. I just got to run through everything. So, so we workbench on Saturday morning to do whatever. We also do a art stream on Mondays and Thursday nights. So I'm here 11 times per week, 6 days a week. I generally take Sundays off, but my official intro here is, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And I've been focusing my attentions on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, creating content for that game system since the publishing of the D&D, the Ravnica setting for Dungeons & Dragons. I thought that we were going to potentially see some color mana system or using the 5 schools of magic, the 5 colors of magic instead of the 8 schools. Then that didn't happen, so I got to work. You can see in, let's see if I move my machine around here like that. Bop, 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 bop. Right, so here's a couple different things I've made. The Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica. That is all 10 guilds in Ravnica converted into otherworldly patrons. Guild mages thus become warlocks that have a pact with the guild that they have, like a white-blue mana warlock would have a pact with Azorius, etc. We can do similar with Strixhaven schools, etc. Theurgy is an ability casting system that allows players and NPCs to create magical effects if they can pass the ability checks and cause mishaps if they don't, which is a great seeds for adventure. Spelljammer Combat and Exploration, that is going to be publishing somewhere between Thursday and Tuesday this week. So mid-March, if you're checking this out in the future, it should already be on the guild. But if not, check out the channel. And Color Mana Spell Point Variant Rules. These are all books that are or will be in the description linked here for you to check out. So the Color Mana system, of course, is the result of replacing the 8 schools of magic and spell slots with the 5 color magic system and tap and tap burn mana in a mana pool. So it works really well. I've been using it for years at my home tables. There's a number of people that run around on the channel here that also use the color mana system. So if you want to get into the Discord to have conversations about that sort of stuff, you can find it on the About page of my Patreon. While you're there, you can support me for $1 to help make sure this stuff stays open. And mad shout to the Ravnica DMs on Reddit. Great community, awesome questions, very supportive of the work. And if you're on the X Twitter platform, I'm at Phil Kearney, where you can get notifications of when I'm live in the future. So we are going to dive into what are we doing today. So here is the, if you're interested, the playtest document is here. No, that's our full list. The Martial Powers playtest content is on my Patreon. You can follow the link there. That link will take you to the Martial Powers playtest document. This is currently a, God, what is this? A 110-page document that will end up printing we'll end up publishing on the DMsGuild to go along with all the other color mana stuff that I do. Basically, the Martial Powers project is a means to an end of having all D&D classes be able to use color mana, kind of like the creature cards in Magic the Gathering, have different trigger effects or abilities that when you use mana, it creates an effect. So spellcasting was easy. All we had to do was calibrate the spells in the player's handbook and expansions for D&D 5e, and then code them to color, and then create a mana pool that characters can use as a modified spell point system instead of spell slots. Very easy to do. The martial side of it's a little bit more difficult because for the most part, they don't have daily resources to spend. Some of them have short rest resources. Some of them don't have any resources at all. So this book was a deep dive into creating custom mana-based mechanics for different effects of like ability checks, combat, damage, action economy, reactions, maneuvers, spell-like effects. We converted all of the martial classes, all the subclasses for each martial character, and then we developed out a full kit of 140 some odd different abilities that are either like cantrip effects that don't require any mana or do require mana to spend. And so at the end of this, we have the Rubblebelt campaign toolkit that we are building as a playtest system to test out how this mana option works for, like, say, characters 1 to 9. I've been playtesting at my home table basically from level 16 to 20. Works great at the high end, but I need to make sure it tests well at the low end. So we're currently developing a Hex Crawl campaign where you're stranded in the Rubblebelt. Each patch of land that you go through is going to be one of the color types, plains, islands, mountains, swamps, and forests, or any combination thereof. We have here, you can see some of the preliminary work that we did. Each square, this larger 3x3 tile, that's a 30-mile block of land, which you can traverse in one day. And each subsection is a 10-mile block within the larger block. Each of these mini blocks you can explore in a 5-hour period of time, at which you'll resolve any encounters and dungeon delving that's inside that space, and then take a short rest at the end of it. It's color-coded with elevation of either being level, elevated, or sunken. So you can see like a lot of black energy here is going towards sinking into the Underdark or the Undercity of the Rubblebelt. Flatland terrain, and then you have elevation like in blue, red, and white mostly. Keeping time here with my timer to make sure I don't get into any tangents. So basically what happens is your team starts and then you choose a plot of land. You take a 5-hour venture into that area. At the end of it, you do a short rest, and if you can secure that area, you can then move on to another location. There's a caravan of NPC vulnerables that you're basically having a massive escort mission through the Rubblebelt to safety. The idea here is that you're all on an ornithopter carrier ship that went down for some reason, a random reason determined by table, and your ship crashes, and now you need to send out a mayday or a rescue signal to whomever to let you know that you're stranded here and that you need help. So there can be different things like a communication tower. Like maybe you saw a communication tower like way over here and you crash here. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 50 miles away. So you're going to have to traverse in 5-hour chunks to move through these different areas. If it's inclined or sunken, it's double movement. It's difficult terrain. So instead of 5 hours, it takes 10 hours. And then you have a 9-hour short rest. You have 5-hour block, 5-hour block, 5-hour block to navigate a block of land of whatever color it is. And then you have your long rest for 9 hours. And then if you are in an insecure area, an area that has not been properly secured, you will be attacked at night or could potentially be attacked at night. There's a mix of different options to challenge the characters, which could be creatures, traps, and hazards. We're looking at, right now, we're looking at, scroll down, different land types. is, okay, so we've fleshed out a lot of different types of descriptive terrain, but that process is not yet complete. Like in the blue, like if it's a blue incline, if it's a sunken blue hex, then it has waterfalls. That's the general theme of the area. Or it could be a sunken lake. Or if you're like, have like a black hex, like if you have a black subset inside of a larger blue tile, then you're going to have blue-black. That could be a Dimir Aqueduct, or it could be a watery grave. If it's a blue-red region, it could be, is it infrastructure ruins? So these are different things like blue elevated land, blue flat land, and blue sunken land. These are the different options that we have, and we're probably adding more than we need, but I'd rather go to overkill than underkill. So we're still fleshing out some of those. We have different challenges, which are like we have regions, and then we have local areas inside of each region. So like this region is red, and then it has a what is that, blue? A blue local area. It has a red local area. It has a white local area. Yeah, these are different areas at different elevations that you can traverse through, and depending on what type of terrain you're in, whether the overall region or a tile within that's what it was. A region is 30 miles, and a tile within those 30 miles are 10 mile blocks. So depending on what your color combinations of for the region and the specific local tile that you're in is going to determine the type of encounters that you can run into while you're inside of that area. So there's monsters, there's environmental hazards, and right now, today, we're looking at enchantments that can be threats or hazards to your team. So I'm going to pluck this out, and we're going to go into gatherer.wizards.com and look at our list. We've loaded up a run of enchantments that are in the Ravnica City of Guilds, divided up by the color. It's color-coded. So we're going to look at each individual tile to see what each one of these cards do, and see if we can flesh out a D. It says D10, but we're just going to go with a D6 for now. Let's go down to here. And when we get to, this could be something that we could publish on DMsGuild specifically and bundle it in with the color mana systems that we've built so far. Once the Martial Power System publishes, we'll have literally all 13 classes in the game, and all their subclasses will have the means to express themselves in a color mana system. So we'll be able to have a full MTG to D&D conversion. And while we're going along the way, we're codifying. If you check out the Eldraine project that we just finished up, there was a lot of opportunities for us to codify like Menace, First Strike, Double Strike, all these different sort of things. So that's been a really fun project that we're continuing to expand on. And our goal, of course, is to be able to take MTG cards and convert them into D&D in a codified language that's gamified and converts your characters from standard D&D 5e into the MTG paradigm. So that's the goal here. We're doing the playtest thing here right now. So we're just gonna start picking through different enchantments to see what we see, and if we like what we're seeing, we'll keep it. If we don't like it, we'll skip it. So let's see if we can pull everything together here. So working on white specifically. At the beginning of each upkeep, creatures you control gain flying until end of turn. That's interesting that would be a white enchantment. Concerted Effort. At the beginning of each upkeep, creatures you control gain flying until the end of the turn. If a creature you control has flying, the same is true for Fear. True Strike. Okay, so that's a multiplying effect. Concerted Effort. That modifies the creatures in your deck. It's not necessarily a global enchantment, so I'm going to specifically skip that one. Conclave Blessings. Convoke. Your creatures can help cast a spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 or more mana at the creature's cost. Enchant creatures get +0/+2 for each other creature you control. So, let's see. Conclave Blessing. Let's see. Concerted Effort, Conclave Blessing. I don't know if I necessarily like that either. Okay, so the idea is that until you conquer the tile of terrain that you're in, like if there's an enchantment active in the terrain that you're in, if it's going to work against you until you conquer that tile and take control of the enchantment. And at that point, it then becomes a benefit to your team. So that's kind of the idea that we're looking at. So maybe Concerted Effort is a really cool one to have. Concerted Effort. Let's try playing with that. Concerted Effort. Concerted Effort equals monsters. It starts off with monsters, then it becomes characters. Monsters. Let's see. Oh, that's what it is. All monsters gain attacks and abilities of other monsters within sight. And what would the kicker effect be? Equals. It would be all allies gain benefit of sustained effects. All allies benefit from effects. All allies gain sustained powers. Gain the effects of sustained powers. There you go. So like if somebody were to activate like hypertunistic, so that you'd be able to make multiple attacks against a target during an opportunity attack. If I were sustaining hypertunistic, then everyone else on my team that is within sight of me would also be able to use hypertunistic at no cost. Let's go with that's pretty cool. Conclave Blessing, enchant creatures. That's an enchantment auras. That's an enchantment aura effect, which we are specifically not using. Just global enchantments are what we want right now. So aura, skip. Light of Sanction. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control by source. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control by sources. Oh, neat. Light of Sanction. That's easy. Light of Sanction equals all monsters gain careful casting for AoE effects. And I think I can simplify this. I don't have to have like all monsters and blah blah blah. Gain attacks. Oh no, actually I think I do. Equals there and all spells and effects, all AoE spells and effects gain careful casting. There we go. And let's see. There we go. Let's get this set. What is this? Suppression Field. Activated abilities cost 2 more to activate unless they're mana abilities. Huh. Okay. Let's see. Suppression Field. Suppression Field equals... let's see. Activated abilities cost 2 manas more to activate unless they're mana abilities. So if it doesn't cost any mana, it costs mana. If it costs mana, it doesn't cost any mana to activate. How about Suppression Field instead of doing a massive mana burn like that, because your characters aren't going to have a lot of mana at low levels. Let's do all sustained effects require concentration saves each round or are dispelled. Let's see. All sustained effects require all character sustained effects require concentration save each round or end. Let's do it like or end, so I can just keep it on one line, because I'm stingy like that. Let's see. And if we can take control of the suppression field, equals all characters' sustained effects require concentration saves. All monster powers and spells, all monster effects are countered unless pay ward cost. All characters require concentration. Are dismissed unless pay ward cost. So we're going to talk about warding eventually. Warding is the act of having to pay something extra to do an effect. Like a lot of things in martial powers doesn't require a saving throw. To be able to automatically succeed at a saving throw, like it'll affect you, but then you make your save at the end of the round, instead of having a save to see if you're affected or not, and then continue to have a saving throw. The way that martial powers is generally structured is that if it's free, you make a saving throw up front, and then it either ends immediately, or if it has a sustained consequence, then you can save at the beginning of each of your rounds. But things that require mana to trigger affect you automatically, but you have the option. You can potentially end it with a saving throw at the end of each round. Warding effects would be if you want to target a creature with this thing, you have to pay the ward cost, otherwise it gets a saving throw against your effect. And at the back end, it can be if you are affected by something and you're making a saving throw, you can automatically succeed the effect if you pay the ward cost. Ward costs can be extra mana that you might not have, hit dice that you might not want to spend, actions, bonus actions, or reactions during your turn which you may not want to spend, or a straight up hit point, or even degrees of exhaustion. So these are some of the warding costs that you can pay to prevent an effect from hitting you, overcoming a creature's magic resistance, or to end an effect that has been ongoing. Or you could just choose to try to make the save, and if you're successful, congratulations, you get out of it. So those are the two means that we're looking at right now to sort of gamify these ideas. Instead of always having to, like, you get targeted by something, make a saving throw, it either works or it doesn't, and you lose the resource, the la-di-da. You're seeing a problem with that with the monk, where that if you try the effect, you stun somebody, like stunning strike. You stun somebody, and if you fail the stun, then you just deal extra damage. You could instead have an effect that deals damage and stuns the target, and if you spend extra, it can't make a saving throw at all. Or if or you hit it with the effect, and then the effect is ongoing, not just one round, but ongoing, and that creature has to give up a hit die, mana, action economy, legendary actions to end the effect with a successful saving throw. So these are some of the different ideas that we want to play with during the test. So the suppression field is a fun way to tie in that warding effect that we're looking at. I like that. Copy enchantment, not so much. That's a blue effect. So we can go in and look at the other Ravnica sections, Ravnica setting stuff to see what else is in there for us. But right now we're looking at blue Dream Leash. You can't choose an untapped permanent as this spell's target as you cast it. You control enchanted permanent. Oh, that's an aura effect. We're going to skip that. Eye of the Storm. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery card, exile it. Then that player copies each instant or sorcery card exiled with Eye of the Storm. For each copy, the player may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So you get duplicate spells. Whenever a player casts a spell, exile it. Then that player copies each instant of the spell exiled. For each copy, whenever a player casts a spell, exile it. Then that player copies each instant or sorcery card exiled with Eye of the Storm. Oh, you're keeping a stack of exiled cards. The player may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. Got it. So you're making this bank of... Okay, that makes sense. So you're building the storage of various cards that you can then cast again at no cost. Instead, let's go with Eye of the Storm. Equals targeted abilities and abilities, powers, and spells have twinned. There you go, and that either works for or against you, and it works either way. So I have the Storm, that's cool. And then let's go to Halcyon Glaze. Whenever you cast a creature spell, Halcyon Glaze becomes a 4/4 illusion creature with flying, in addition to its other types until end of turn. Okay, so Halcyon Glaze equals all creatures have mirror image, have a mirror image effect that can be dispelled. Yeah, that's good enough to start with anyway. Halcyon. What's next? What else you got? Okay, so now we're down in the black. We'll probably be able to figure this out between all the various sets. Blood Funnel. Non-creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, counter that spell unless you sacrifice a creature. What? Okay. Non-creature spells are cheap, but you have to sacrifice a creature, otherwise the spell gets lost. That's interesting. Okay, Blood Funnel. Yeah, let's keep it. Blood Funnel equals effects, powers and spells. Powers and spells cost 2 mana less to cast. If the powers and spells that spend mana, because there's like cantrips and stuff that don't require mana at all. So powers and spells that spend mana, that cost mana, that you spend. Let's there's my alarm. Let's Blood Funnel equals yeah, powers and spells cost 2 less mana to cast. Minimum 1. When you sacrifice a creature. Creatures will be able to use this against you, like bosses with add-on swarms. They'll be able to bring in and then kill off swarms. Conjure effects like summon Nature's Ally. You get 6 pixies and you can start killing them off to save your mana pool. That's kind of a neat idea. We'll stick with that for now until we can find something better. Right now we're just trying to fill the deck. Blockbuster. What does that do? Blockbuster. Sacrifice Blockbuster. It deals 3 damage to each tapped creature and each player. No. That's something that that you as a player are controlling. It's not just something that affects the board permanently. So we're gonna skip that one. Mind Boil. Mind Mole. Whenever you cast a spell, put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library in any order, then draw that many cards. Oh my god, what a crazy effect. 5 mana. Whenever you cast a spell, put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library in any order, then draw that many cards. Generally, adding cards, losing cards is generally like a advantage sort of effect. Whenever you cast a spell, put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library in any order. That would be a disarm. That'd be a disadvantage check. Then draw that many cards would be an advantage effect. So that would end up washing out. How would we want to express that? Whenever you cast a spell, whenever you're using an effect that requires mana, put the cards in your hand on the bottom. Ooh. Let's do it like this. Equals when you use a power, when you spending mana for a power or spell randomizes your remaining mana. Randomizes an equal number of mana in your pool. So if you trigger an effect that requires 2 mana, you spend it. If you have 2 mana in your pool, you'll randomly assign a color to it. That could fuck you over if like you can only use strikes with white magic, for instance. And then Mind Mole, the benefit would be when characters take control of this enchantment, mana is any color you want. There you go. That's a cool kicker effect. I like that. So what's next? Doubling Season. That's green. Doubling Season by Lords. That's an aura effect. So we'll skip that. Skip that. Perilous Fae. Sacrifice a creature. Search your library for a land card with a basic land type. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Let's see. Perilous Fae. Sacrifice a creature. Search your library. Whenever a player casts a creature spell, each player returns all cards with the same name as that spell. Nice. Blood Bond March. Let's just call that black. Let's go with Blood Bond. Was it Blood Bond March? Blood Bond March equals slaying creatures rise as zombies the following turn. Zombies killed this way are not affected. Zombies aren't affected. Slain creatures rise as zombies the following turn. Zombies remain dead at 0. There you go. And is there a benefit to this? Powers and spells. Slain creatures rise as zombies. Here's the kicker effect. Equals when the characters take control of the enchantment, they control the zombies. There you go. So when you kill a creature, it rises up as a zombie and attacks you until you take control of the enchantment, and then they become your zombies while you remain in hex. Zombies while in that hex. While in zone. when you leave that enchantment area, if you like lead those zombies out of that enchantment area, then you lose control over them and they'll attack you. So bear caution. What else we got? Dark Heart of the Wood. Sacrifice a forest. Gain 3 life. Yeah, let's skip that. Golgari Germination. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 green sap rolling creature. Yeah, it's kind of the same effect. What is that one called? Golgari Germination. That'll jive. Let's go with Germination equals when creatures die, they a sap rolling creature is created. Similar language as black, except that these are plant creatures instead of zombies. So we'll go down here and then top. There you go. When creators keep controlling the instant, they control the sap rollings. Plant creature is created. They control plants until they leave the zone. Same difference, right? There we go. Let's see. What else we got? Glare of Subdual. Neat. Tap an untapped creature you control. Tap target artifact. Tap an untapped creature you control. Tap target artifact or creature. Glare of Subdual. That's interesting. How would I do that? Tap target artifact or creature. Oh, this would be Glare of Subdual. There we go. I got it. Okay, Glare of Subdual equals you can creatures. One creature can use their bonus action. Use a bonus action to give another creature an action. Let's see. Glare of Subdual. One creature. Let's see. Creatures can sack their bonus action. Sack a bonus action for target creature to use their reaction as an action. God, that's convoluted. Let's see. Sack a bonus action. There you go. Sack a bonus action for a target creature to use their reaction as an action. So if I use my bonus action, when we take control of this land, I could use my bonus action for you to spend your reaction. If you do, then you gain an extra action. And this would be during somebody else's turn. So like a wizard, like if we had a wizard on our team, 3 other people could use their... Oh, no, the wizard only has 1 reaction. So somebody would be able to target the wizard. The wizard could then sack their reaction to then cast a spell as an action. Or a fighter could sack their reaction to gain an action as a full attack sequence, like 1, 2, 3 attacks. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like that a lot. And it's a global, so that works. Privileged Position. Neat. Black and white. Other permanents you control have hexproof. Ooh, they can't be targeted by spells or abilities your opponent controls. Let's see. Privileged Position. Let's put that. That is a black-white effect. Let's. Well, I like the idea of it. Let's go with. Let's just put that under white. Privileged equals counter all equals. You cannot target creatures with powers or spells. There you go. Cool, that's a decent set, and that's all the sets there. So let's go. That was City of Guilds. So let's go into let's see. Expansion is, let's go to Return to Ravnica and go with the type, color by order, type, enchant. There. Oh wait. Add. Search. There we go. So we did City of Guilds. All right, let's keep at it. Let's see. Arrest. Enchanted creatures can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. That's a creature enchantment. That's an aura, so we don't use that. Martial law. Martial law. So there we go. At the beginning of your upkeep, detain target creature and opponent controls. Until your next turn, that creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Detain. That's funny. Let's see. Martial law. At the beginning of your upkeep, detain target creatures and opponent control. Can't attack or block, and it's activated, can't be activated. Martial law. Martial law equals enemies attack with disadvantage and can't sustain spells or effects. Yeesh, that's harsh. Rest in Peace. When Rest in Peace enters the battlefield, exile all graveyards. If a card or token would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Ouch. Rest in Peace. Automatically fail death saves. Cannot be raised. God, that's nasty. I don't want to do that to people, so we're going to skip that one. Beep, 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 burp, burp. Sphere of Safety. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures. So there we go. Sphere of Safety. Safety equals enemies that attack must pay ward So this would be if you want to make attacks on any target, enemies that attack or target attacks and targeted effects must pay a ward, and the ward that you would pay is a bonus action. So you could make attacks, but must pay ward bonus action per target. So like if you have 3 attacks per round, you could use your bonus action to pay the ward, but you would have to you'd only be able to attack that single creature. That's a fun effect. Bonus action or attack. There. We'll do that. Chronic Flooding. We'll skip that. There's an aura effect. Conjured Currency. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exchange control of conjured currency and target permanent you neither own nor control. Oh, yeah, we'll skip that. You can swap this card for another enchantment effect, and they could swap it back if they wanted to. You just keep swapping it. Search the City. When Search the City enters the battlefield, exile the top 5 cards of your library. Whenever you play a card with the same name as one of the exiled cards, you may put one of those cards with that name into its owner's hand. Then, if there are no cards exiled with Search the City, sacrifice it. If you do, take an extra turn after this one. Interesting. Whenever you play a card with the same name as one of the... So you exile a slew of cards. Whenever you play a card with the same name, you may put one of those cards with that name into its owner's hand. And we're going to skip that one. Yeesh, we only have 2 blue enchantment effects so far? Jesus. Maybe we shouldn't be so skippy. We'll skip it for now because we always come back to it. Defiant Glee. No, that's an aura effect. Grave Betrayal. Whenever a creature you don't control dies, return it to the battlefield under your control with an additional +1/+ encounter. That creature is a black zombie. And so this will be, instead of Bloodborne March, it'll be Grave Betrayal. There. Shrieking Affliction. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 1 or fewer cards in the hand, they lose 3 life. Oh, neat. Shrieking Affliction. That's neat. Shrieking Affliction equals take 1d4 damage per round unless you are sustaining a mana effect. So you have to keep an aura on you to prevent the shrieking from damaging you. That's neat. I like that. Again, these are just things that you do to your team while they're exploring the hex. And if they can find the source, and the enchantments, if there's an enchantment in an area, it's always going to be in some sort of a dungeon space that'll have guardians that are that align with whatever that is, like the Grave Betrayal. That would be in a crypt, and it would be protected by undead of some sort. So for you to take control, or you could choose to disable the Grave Betrayal, you have to defeat the dungeon and then disarm or subvert the enchantment. It's like a spellcasting check, or like a disarm effect, like a spell disarm effect. Yeah. Where like you could use like an artificer or a spellcaster or a rogue would be able to manipulate, like disable the magical effect, or manipulate the magical effect so that it synchronizes with you. You attune to it and then take control of it, which would be useful if you're going to camp there overnight. But as soon as you leave that tile, and then enchantment no longer is valid. But you can spend your downtime, your short rest, attuning to that enchantment so that your team takes control of it. So if that's where you're going to park for the night, if you have an encounter at night, that enchantment would benefit your team. So hunting down enchantments is beneficial. Like, you don't want to have an enchantment effect active while you're in an area with your escorts trying to sleep. Otherwise, they could be, turned into zombies. What else you got? Stab Wound. Uh-oh. Okay. We got one more burst. Stab Wound. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2. At the beginning of upkeep, the creature, the enchanted creature controller, that player loses 2 life. Oh, that's an aura. Never mind. And then we're down into green. No red for you. There's not a lot of red enchantments, are there? Gotta keep an eye out for those. Oh, there we go. Guild Feud. Interesting. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponents reveal the top 3 cards of their library. May put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield, then puts the rest into their graveyard. You do the same with the top 3 cards. You do the same with the top 3 cards of your library. If 2 creatures are put onto the battlefield, those creatures fight each other. Target opponent, and then you, and if they do, they fight. That's an interesting. That's an interesting effect. How chaotic! Very gruel. Very, very gruel. I'm gonna skip that one. Pyro Convergence. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, Pyro Convergence deals 2 damage to any target. Multicolored spell, huh? Whenever you cast a multicolored spell. So that's called Pyro Convergence. So, and that is red, so that's good news. Pyro Convergence. Pyro Convergence equals when spending mana that's not red, deal 1 power die of damage to target you can see. To enemy, to target creature. There you go. So if it's not a red spell that if you're using mana that's not red, when spending mana that's not red, deal 1 power die of damage per mana to target. To a creature. There, so if I trigger a 2 mana effect, I don't use any red mana in the effect. I can then, if I'm using a d6 power die, I can deal 2d6 damage to something. So I can trigger like a white sustained effect and deal damage to the target that's nearby. That's neat. Let's see, Racecourse Fury. Nah, that's an aura. Death's Presence. Whenever a creature you control die, creature control when put counters on target creature you control. Ooh, Death's Presence. That's green. So let's go to Death's Presence equals when creature dies, allies gain temp HP, 5 THP, and advantage on attacks. That turn. Mana Bloom. Mana Bloom enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it. Remove a charge counter from Mana Bloom. Add 1 mana of any color. Activate only once per turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Mana Bloom has no charges on it, return it to its owner's hand. Oh, fascinating. Charge. Counter. Return to owner's hand. How would that work? So, let's see. Mana Bloom. X charge counters on it. Remove a charge counter from the Mana Bloom. Add 1 mana of any color. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Mana Bloom has no charge counters on it, how would that work? When Mana Bloom enters the battlefield with X charges on it, remove a charge counter from the Mana Bloom. Add 1 mana of any color. Activate only... Okay, so it's only 1 mana per turn. I know I could make something out of it, but I don't think I need to. Detention Sphere. When Detention Sphere enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-land permanent, not named Detention Sphere, and all other permanents with the same name as the permanent. When Detention Sphere leaves the battlefield, return all of those creatures. Detention Sphere. Let's go back up. Who's lacking? Blue is lacking. We already have white full, so let's go with Detention Sphere. Maybe I could build these out as specific guild like color combos, straight color, and then the 10 mixes. That might be something we could do. Detention Sphere equals Azorius. So start thinking about it in that term. Detention Sphere equals, let's see, exiled. Equals when spending when You spend mana, make cost save, or get Odaluk. Or get Resilient Sphere. There you go. So you get stuck inside a Resilient Sphere whenever you use mana. It just causes a Resilient Sphere effect to form around you, which you can save to get out of every turn. Havoc. Ooh, Havoc Festival. Players can't gain... Oh, Jesus Christ. Players can't gain life. That's horrible. I love it. Havoc. What is it called? Havoc Festival. Characters can't heal. Yeah, characters can't heal. There you go. Collective Blessing. Creatures control. Okay. Collective Blessing. Gain advantage. Oh, Collective Blessing. Collective Blessing equals add 1 power die to all attack rolls and gain THP equal 5 times PD rank. PD means power die. So there's D4 is 1, D6 is 2, D8 is 3, D10 is 4, D12 is 5. And the severity of the... and enchantments have different tiers of severity, which affects the DC to be able to disarm or to control it. But in this instance, it's like, for example, you would have... you gain temporary hit points equals 5 times like a severe enchantment that would have a D12 power die. That would be gain 60 temporary. No, that'd be 60. Gain 30 temporary hit points. There you go. Not bad. Collect a blessing. Growing ranks. At the beginning of your upkeep, populate. Create a token. What is that called? Growing ranks. Equals at the beginning of your upkeep, populate. How would that work? It's not a... Let's see. Nah. I'm gonna skip that one. I think we can probably find something better. All right, so let's get out of here. That was Return to Ravnica. What else you got? It's going to be Enchantment. And expansion is Ravnica. We did Return to Ravnica. City of Alliance. City of Ravnica. Let's do Ravnica Allegiance. Add. Enchantment. Add. Go. Ravnica Allegiance. Angelic Exaltation. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X until the end of the turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Cool. Attacks target effects must pay ward. All characters, sustained effects are dismissed unless pay ward cost. Unless pay ward, reaction. Last Sanction, all monsters gain careful casting. I love that. Conserve Effort, all monsters gain attacks and abilities of other monsters within sight. Yeah, I guess we're in bonus. I guess we're in bonus territory right now then. What was that? Angelic Exaltation equals gain bonus Gain power die to attack rolls and advantage while allies are within sight. Smothering Tithe. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player must play mana. Doesn't, you create a treasure token. Nah. Eyes Everywhere. At the beginning of your turn of your upkeep, scry 1. Exchange control of Eyes Anywhere and target non-land permanent. Activate only. Exchange control of Eyes Everywhere and target non-land permanent. Activate only as a sorcery. Oh, that's interesting. Upkeep, scry 1. Eyes Everywhere. That feels kind of dumb. Let's skip it. Verity Circle. Whenever a creature an opponent control becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. Tap target creature without flying. Whenever a creature an opponent control, Verity Circle. Whenever a creature an opponent control becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. Drawing a card generally means a spell effect or free mana or advantage. So whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, if it's non-combat, Verity Circle. Oh, there we go. Verity Circle. I know the answer to this one. Creatures gain advantage to save versus effects. There you go. Easy peasy. Font of Agonies. Whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies. Remove 4 blood counters from Font of Agonies. Destroy target creature. I'm going to skip that one. It's a neat enchantment. I'm going to skip it. Hey, kid, how you doing? Yeah. This is the Hex Crawl that we're making for the Ravnica Rubblebelt. Each land type, the type of the color. So you have the overall template, which is a region, and then you've got each tile within a region. A tile is 10 miles. A region, the region is 30 miles. While you're in a tile, if correspond like this black tile, for instance, if you're either going to have a mix of creatures, hazards, and enchantments that the team has to deal with while they're traversing that space. It's assumed it takes 5 hours to traverse that space, and at the end of that 5-hour period of time, you can take a short rest. You can have 3 per day, and then you have your long rest. So if the effect triggers, if the random table says that you're going to have an enchantment effect in that tile, then in that instance it's a black tile, so we'll drift down here to the black enchantment effects, and we're currently building that out. So these are things that your team has to deal with against themselves while they're in that tile. And here's the fun thing is that if you're here in this tile and you're looking at the tiles around you, you can do checks. You can do observations to see what's in the tiles around you, and if you're successful with your check, if the roll is high enough to detect the level, the rank of enchantment that's effective, if you can notice it, then you know what that enchantment is. Like if we decide to go explore this black tile, we're going to be afflicted, like say with Shrieking Afflictions, which is you'll take D4 damage per round unless you're sustaining the mana effect. So you have to have concentration effects active on you at all time, otherwise you start taking damage. It's like, well, I don't have any sustained effects right now. If we want to come back to this tile, we all have to take a rest so that we can pick up sustained effects. And when we do, we need to make sure we have enough resources to be able to refresh it in case we lose our concentration. Otherwise, we're going to be taking damage each round, which is a super fucking fun thing to do. So these are like hostile magical enchantments. And then if the team, if that effect is active in that tile, that means that there's a dungeon someplace that's housing the enchantment mechanism or spell dwarmer that's causing that enchantment to affect the tile. So the team then either disables it so it's gone, or takes control of it so they can use it to their advantage. At which point, like, all creatures that are in that tile, unless they have sustained effects, they start taking damage and die. So that's like the gamification of the Hex Crawl system that we're building here. So yeah, it's for the martial powers thing that we've been testing. So this is just a fun little danger room environment that we're creating. The mission, the story is that your ornithopter crashes. It has your characters and an unspecified number of NPC that you have to escort through the Rubblebelt wastelands to a safe spot. So you don't necessarily know where the safe spot is. You just know it's that way. It's west of here. So you start west marching, and you choose whichever tile you want to go through, and the region is the global color, and then each individual tile is the specific instance. So like a blue, this is just blue. Blue-black, that's Dimir territory. Blue-white, that's Azorius territory. But these are ruins. So these were Dimir territories. These were Azorius territories. But that could have been hundreds or even thousands of years ago since anyone's come in here and tried to secure the infrastructure. So all the enchantments have gone crazy. There's Gruul clans and NPC monster types that control these territories that you have to fight against or make allies of to be able to traverse the terrain safely. And every tile that you secure, you can then bring your caravan through, and they can safely long rest there. If you take them into a tile and you haven't secured that tile, then if you take a long rest there, you're probably going to be attacked at night. And especially if you haven't taken control of an enchantment, then that enchantment could potentially damage, like your caravan refuses to enter that tile if you can't control the enchantment, because you're going to end up getting them killed. So they just refuse to go there. So you can only move your caravan forward to the tiles that you've secured, and the goal is just to move we'll have a random goal, like find a communication tower, or find a safe depot, or there was an airstrip up ahead. There might be an ornithopter that you guys can rehabilitate to be able to take off and get out of this place. And it'll be like D4+4 regions away. So you'd have potentially like 16 or 17 tiles that you'll have to traverse through, and you can go through one tile every 5 hours. So if we're having a 3-hour game session, we could potentially do, if we're going to do 3 or 4 encounters, if we're going to do like 2 or 3 encounters per short rest, that means that each tile that you traverse is going to be 2 or 3 encounters, which means that in like say a 3.5-hour session, we should be able to get through 2 tiles per day. And it's a West March style, so whoever decides to show up and play with us that session, we'll just pick up at whatever tile we left off, and we'll just keep a running record of what was in the past tiles and what do we think we know about the upcoming tiles. So whoever shows up on the roster is like, where do you guys want to go right now? It's like, well, let's just keep marching. We'll go that way. And then you just deal with it as it comes up. So it's just going to be a randomized environment danger section, just basically to give people an excuse to throw mana around, build different types of characters, and see how the action economy works, see what kind of builds they can make with the martial power system. So I ran martial powers on my home table from level 16 to 20. So I know it works really good at high levels, but I haven't tested at the low levels. So we're going to start the campaign probably maybe at 3rd level, like 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Maybe we'll go through like those 5 levels, like maybe like once a month. So I have like 4 sessions at 3rd level, 4 sessions at 5th level, 4 sessions at 7th level, 4 sessions at 9th level. Up from, I think this can start in April, and so April, May, June, July, August, September, so the 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, there you go. So those would be the levels that we stack through to get to where we're going. Or maybe we would start at like 1, let's start at 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and then cap at 11th level. So that'll bridge the gap to 16. So that's the idea behind it. But that's my timer. So, Ked, I gotta go. That's the end of my lunch. So we're going to do this again tomorrow, though, and then we're going to do it again on Friday, and we're going to keep building these things out. We're currently digging our way through the Ravnica Allegiance set, looking just for the enchantment cards to try to get a D6. Got 7 here for white already. But most of these, red doesn't have a lot of enchantments in its life, so it's looking kind of thin. Everything else seems to be fleshing out nicely. I could always go like the Mirrodin or like Eldraine to look for additional red enchantment. If it will flesh it out. A minimum of 6 is what we're looking for. So that's it for now. Ken, thanks for showing up, man. I'm going to be back tonight in approximately 5-ish hours, probably a little less than 5 hours, for us to continue on with doing Spelljammer asset production until we can get the Spelljammer book punched out. So anyone that's interested in this stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see everybody on the other side. Thanks a lot.